first start by saying how much I loved this movie.
Thank you.
It is fantastic. The thing for me is I think Scott's screenplay is probably the best I've seen on screen this year. It's brilliant and informative, and it's not stupid. It never talks down to the audience. As actors who've read many, many scripts, what is it like reading something like this for the first time?
You're right. And the incredible thing about reading something called the torture report is you go, oh boy, this is going to be dry as yesterday's toast. And then you start reading it and you're realizing, oh, this isn't just a litany of fact after fact after fact, and it's not this hack job, this partisan hack job. It's actually an incredibly compelling story about how our government, when it is applied correctly, can work, and how, when it is abused, can not work. And in a world where the conventional wisdom seems to say that government is bad, this says, like, actually there are people in the government that do their jobs, and that when they're presented with something that is morally questionable or illegal, they actually say, I'm not doing that. So it's a nice change of pace from what we're currently seeing in the conventional wisdom of government, which is deny, double down, and make fun of the people that are accusing you of something, even when all of the facts stated you're wrong. You can't take a Sharpie to this one. Like, it's just the truth, and it's cited and documented.
Completely. For you reading the script?
Oh, I thought it was incredibly compelling. As you said, very taut. The narrative is very strong, and yet you do get an incredible amount of information. Making a political movie that has a lot of heart and guts to it is very hard. And I feel like Scott had that kind of baked in from the very beginning. And it's about people who broke the law, and then it's about people who followed the rule of law. And all of it is factual. Nothing is based on trying to tell a story that's slanted in one way or another. In fact, we have an annotated document that Dan Jones created that basically backs up everything in the film. So in a time when we're sort of inundated with information, we don't know how much is true, we don't know what is being doctored or what is propaganda. Truth matters, as they say, and this really does matter. It matters that the Americans broke the law, and they were secretly torturing people in prisons where people were ferreted around the world into these secret prisons. The State Departments of these countries, our State Department wasn't even informed in some cases that this was going on. So all of this, when this was uncovered, was very explosive. But then it took many, many years for justice to be done. Eventually it was. The Americans admitted that they had done this and passed an amendment by Senator Feinstein, Senator McCain, saying, once again, it's against the law. The Americans admit it. We don't do this anymore.
One of the things that I find so interesting about this project is that Scott and all of you guys had to make this thing in 26 days. And there's a ridiculous amount of dialogue that has to be delivered in those 26 days. He was mentioning a lot of people were off book, all the time. Could you talk a little bit about making this in such a short period of time?
Well, not only making it in such a short period of time, but making a 2-hour movie about a 7,000-page document that was distilled down into a 500-page summary that was then distilled into a 130-page script that was then shot in 26 days. So you need to have a certain level of professionalism and competence on both sides of the camera. And part of that was, Annette was mentioning earlier, that we spent a lot of time around the table before we started shooting. So all the questions that you ask when you're, well, what did I mean here? We didn't have those. They'd been asked and answered already. The parts of the script that maybe didn't really work or didn't sound right, we'd already read through those, and Scott corrected those, asked and answered. And we had Dan Jones on set all the time. So if there was anything you needed to know, you could go right to the source. And so that was what made it not, I don't want to say easy, but certainly doable.
Completely. I think I have to go. Thank you so much. And seriously, congrats on the movie. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much.